It's time for the Freedom in 5 Minutes podcast. Powerful and liberating business strategies you can start in 5 minutes or less. Now, here's your host, Dean Soto.
Hey, this is Dean Soto, founder of FreedomIn5Minutes.com and ProSulam.com. And we're here again with another Freedom in 5 Minutes podcast episode. Today's topic is this: how to use a real estate virtual assistant the right way. That and more coming up. What is up? Oh, it has been a while, sort of a while, but it's great to be here again. Got a lot of things going on right now. I'm walking with the Lunameister as usual, as the per usual, and she's actually up high. Come on, baby, let's go. And we're just having some fun. We're having some fun. Got a ton of things going on over here, but let's get into it. I wanted to do kind of a series of different ways that you can use a virtual assistant. Obviously, we have our virtual systems architects over at prosulam.com, freedomin5minutes.com as well, and they can do all of these different things that we're going to go through. So I figured that we'd do a series that starts talking about all of this goodness, right? Because there's a lot of different things that are going on, a lot of different things that you might not know, depending on what industry you're in, what these guys can do, okay? Specifically, our virtual assistants, our virtual systems architects, because they can do virtually anything. As long as you can show them how to do it, they'll document it and then do it. So anyway, all that being said, let's kind of get into it. I'm going to start with a story. So back when I was doing consulting, more on the systems consulting and really helping businesses to start documenting everything. It's one of the ways. This is actually one of the ways that the whole virtual systems architect thing was born. I was working with a company over in Memphis, and they had hired me on a monthly basis to work with their staff to start figuring out how can they document everything in their business and make it to where the owner, there's actually two things, where the owner had more time to be able to spend with his family. He had just had a couple of grandkids, and he wanted to be able to have enough time to where he wasn't constantly working there. But more importantly, his son ran on the sales side of things. What they would do is they would renovate. They go find distressed houses, buy them cheap, renovate them, and flip them, and so that they they might buy a house for $20,000, renovate it, flip it, make money off on that end, but then also be the property management company. And so his son was a big part of that. And when I just first started getting there, when I first got on the job, it was interesting because a lot of the folks didn't really believe that a virtual assistant or a virtual systems architect, what we call them now, could, this is somebody overseas who is, very cost effective. Let's just say very cost effective. Somebody who is usually their salary is not nearly as much as somebody in the United States. They look at that and they go, wow, okay, well, this person obviously is not going to be able to do anything that we show them because we pay people six figures for that type of thing, right? Well, it was interesting because one of the first people I worked with was the son of the owner, so that he could start finding real estate fast that he could buy, flip, and sell, okay? And so I started talking to him, and I'm like, hey, I said, hey, so show me your process. And he says, well, about the first half of the day, what I do is I go and I look at broker price opinions. I go and look at different yield sheets. I go to Zillow.com. I go to all these different real estate sites, and I look for specific things. So I look for specific data for these houses that we are potentially interested in buying, right? So the first half of the day, first 4 hours of the day is spent doing that. And the second half of the day is going to the properties and seeing if they are worth it, right? If they are actually something that we want to buy. Because reason being is because while something might look good, something that might look good on paper, it might look good on Zillow or Realtor.com or all these other places. When you actually go there, you might see that the foundation's cracked, or that it needs a whole new roof, or it needs something that's going to cost a lot of money to renovate. Well, you don't want to go and buy something like that, even though the numbers looked like they were going to be great. If you're going to spend a ton of money on renovations, it's not worth it. And so So I was like, okay, so you spend 4 hours doing this research stuff in the beginning. What can we do? Like, how can we take that off your plate? Like, show me the process for that. And he's like, oh no, there's no way. You're not going to be able to do what I do. I have to go over these broker price opinions. You have to kind of know what's good, what's not. You have to look at these yields, and you need to be able to understand the numbers and to know within what threshold a house might be a good thing to look at. And I said, well, all right, that's great and all, but why don't we hit the record button on, we'll use loom.com or whatever. Let's hit the record button, and you show me exactly what you are doing. And so he's like, okay, whatever. And he starts showing me exactly what he's doing. Well, about 20 minutes later, he stops. We send off that video to my team of virtual systems architects, my team of virtual assistants. They document it, and they give it to a virtual assistant who was ready to start doing some work on this stuff. So they give it to the virtual assistant, the step-by-step document, and I told that virtual assistant, hey, have us something by the next day. And that's it. Okay, so about 20 minutes worth of actual work, right? Well, the next day, the document's done, and the next day, what would have taken 4 hours to complete in that morning, there was an Excel spreadsheet sent to me and to the son of the owner that had all of the properties that looked like they would be that looked as though it would be good enough to go and check out, right? So there was like 30 properties, right? And so they're looking at this going, wait a minute, we usually spend 4 hours on this thing. Well, they're double checking, they're looking at everything, they're making sure that it actually is what they thought it was going to be, and lo and behold, they check it out. They check out all of the properties, and they're all good. They're all ones that they would have done in the first place, right? So that being said, they look at me and they're like, "Oh, the owner's son." He looks at me and is like, "Oh my gosh, I don't have to do this in the morning anymore. I literally can just start going looking for houses. I don't have to sit there. In fact, I can go and look at probably 2 or 3, maybe even 4 times as many houses as I would normally do." And which in the end resulted for them in almost quadrupling their sales, their renovation and sales within like 90 days, right? And so why is this important? It's important because there's so many different things as a real estate company, as whether you're an agent or whether you're a property manager or whether you are a buy and hold investor or somebody who flips, there's so many different things that a virtual assistant can do for you. A real estate virtual assistant can do a lot, and there are some real estate virtual assistant services companies out there that, it's definitely go give them a try. But from what I've found is when you have people specialized in one specific thing, you're going to find that they're only going to do that one thing, right? And the cool thing is if you have someone and I'm actually going to go through some of the different things you can do with a real estate virtual assistant in just a second, but you're going to find that it is pretty dang cool what is possible when you have somebody who is more of a generalist and can do many, many, many things. All right, so, you guys hungry? Yeah, you guys have stuff. I was looking at the chickens. So here are some of the things that you can do with a real estate virtual assistant. So the first thing you can do is lead generation. So as a realtor, while I know how hard it is to juggle administration, juggle lead generation, juggle looking at houses, all these different things. I'm not a realtor, but I know I have a bunch of different buy and hold properties. And so I know the process and I know how hard it is. And I've helped a lot of different real estate companies to be able to do this. And so imagine what it would be like, and keep in mind, this is just one tip, and your virtual systems architect or your real estate virtual assistant can do pretty much everything. Just one of them can do pretty much everything that I'm going to share. So the first thing is helping with lead generation. Okay, so imagine what it would be like if all you as a realtor saw in every morning or during the first part of the week was just appointments coming in, whether it's people who are looking to sell a house and they want you to come and look, or somebody who's looking to buy, or somebody who is interested in a property that you had listed. Imagine if all of that was done for you. You had your real estate virtual assistant. Hey, guineas, go. You had your real estate virtual assistant who was out there looking for people who are interested in what you have to sell. And when they find, whether it's cold calling, whether it's cold emailing, whether it's going through different forums, going through different websites, looking and reaching out to people and getting them on your calendar. Imagine what it'd be like if that's all, like every time you just had you had things scheduled, right? Or if you have people coming, I'll leave that for the next. So you can have them scouring LinkedIn and connecting with people on LinkedIn and going to reaching out and messaging people on LinkedIn who have had intentions on moving, or have said somewhere in their posts within the last year that they would love to move to Texas, or they'd love to move to whatever, and you just happen to live in that specific area, and you wanted to reach out to them and let them know that, and see where they are at in the process. And if they're in a certain time frame they plan on moving, you got to them before anyone else could. And that's just an example, right? But lead generation, while you are doing everything else, having someone reaching out to your leads is something that is, it's a no-brainer when it comes to using a real estate virtual assistant like that. The next thing that you can have them do is, and keep in mind, if you have like a virtual systems architect, one that's a generalist, you can have them do this as well, is qualifying customer or qualifying leads, as well as delivering customer service. So the reason why I kind of lump those two things together is it's almost on the more administrative side, right? So on the lead generation side, imagine you have people who are coming in as leads, like warm leads, maybe through Zillow or Realtor.com or through referred through a friend or whatever. Imagine if you had your virtual assistant going and having the prospect fill out questionnaires, or hopping on a phone call and the virtual assistant is talking to them, asking them specific questions. What's their budget? When do they plan on buying? Is it within a week? Is it within a month? Is it within 6 months? Is it within a year? What's their credit score? What's their credit score like? Things that the virtual assistant can do ahead of time so that you're not wasting your time, right? Being able to have that virtual assistant, having them be able to qualify leads, but then also to follow up with those leads and to deliver amazing customer service. Because what if you do have leads that are qualified and they're wanting to buy now, but you don't have the time to follow up with them because you have a ton of showings, or you have a ton of you have things that are going on, and you just can't really keep in touch with even leads that are hot. You have your virtual assistant going, ooh, someone's shooting. You have your virtual assistant keeping in touch with those leads, making sure that they fill out all of the proper any questionnaires, any forms. You have them. You send out you can have your virtual assistant send out gifts to them. You can have your virtual assistant call them and keep them warm, so that they don't go with another real estate agent, right? They don't go with another realtor. You're the one who's constantly in contact with them, and say they wanted to buy, if they wanted to buy 6 months from today, you're in constant contact with them. In 6 months, they are going to talk to you. They're not going to talk to anyone else, right? They're going to have so much invested in you, and you'll have so much time invested in them that it would be very hard for them to go with the competitor, right? So you have you have those two things. You have the lead qualifying, and you also have the customer service, the keeping those leads warm, right? So on top of that, the next thing that you can do is have them guide your prospect during the buying process. During the buying process, you have a number of things going on, right? You have, if it's somebody who's buying, you're going to have a lot of forms. You're going to be working with a title company. You're going to be working with the lender. You're going to be working with a lot of people. Why, rather than having you managing all of that and keeping on communication and dropping the ball on new sales and new customers and old customers and so on, have your real estate virtual assistant, have them guide your prospect through that entire process, right? You can have a system set up, like a step-by-step system set up. This is why we have our virtual systems architects, where you can show them your exact system of how you bring clients through that whole entire through that whole entire system. You bring them, you have them. You can walk the customer through, have the virtual assistant walk the customer through the entire buying process. So that means the virtual assistant is working with the lender, making sure that the lender's doing their part, working with the title company, making sure that the title company is doing their part, working with the customer, making sure that they're still hot and ready to go, and that they feel taken care of. All of their questions are asked, and it minimizes the chance of anything falling through, right? So having them go through that buying process and managing that whole thing, so that in the end, you're just checking the paperwork, you're making sure that the paperwork's good, and the virtual assistant is the one who's actually communicating, going back and forth. Of course, following all of the real estate laws in your state, whatever you can have your real estate virtual assistant do, you can have them do, but then obviously on things where you need to be doing it, you can step in at those appropriate times, right? So then the next thing, hopefully your palate is getting warm, or you're getting even more hungry for some of this stuff, because there's so many things that you can do. The next thing that you can have a real estate virtual assistant do is, once the customer has bought, ask for referrals. Have them ask for referrals, okay? You can either have them ask for referrals up front during the process, or you can have them asking after the house is sold, or you can have both, right? Well, I mean, what better way to build your business than to have referrals from happy clients, okay? Your virtual assistant can have a system where they're asking for those referrals, where they are reaching out to the client and via email or via phone call, or even you can even have the virtual assistant do a Zoom with them as well, and ask different questions and get those, the client testimonials, get the referrals and so on. So asking them to refer 3 people, or getting their testimonial and things like that. There's so many different things you can have them do during that time that keeps the business coming in. And guess what? Your client, your customer, your competitors are not doing that. Very rarely are they doing that. And probably you aren't doing that either, right? Because you're busy juggling all of these other things. And guess what? We're not done. There is more that you could do with a real estate virtual assistant, okay? The other thing that you can do, another thing that you can do with a real estate virtual assistant is keeping in touch with your past clients. So back in the day, I had a client, back in the day, I had a friend who bought from a real estate agent who I recommended. Well, that real estate agent kept in touch with them for years, actually, and even though my friend who I recommended the real estate agent to bought and was not going to buy anything else, year after year after year, they referred that real estate agent, because the real estate agent was constantly in contact. The real estate agent was sending gifts, was sending cards, was sending these little things that made it to where he was always in their mind. So who do you think they recommended when their friends were starting to grow, wanted to grow their families, wanted to get into a house? Who do you think they referred? My friends referred that real estate agent, right? Every single time. And it was just a constant flow of customers, of potential prospects, right? Because my friends weren't the only ones he was doing that to. He had probably hundreds of people who he was able to stay in contact with, because he had a team that was doing it. Well, you can have that same team, right? One virtual assistant who can keep in contact with a ton of different people, right? Whether it's on a quarterly basis, a monthly basis, or whatever, okay? So keeping in contact with those people is huge. Keeping in contact with past customers is huge, right? Even those customers who might have fallen out of escrow, they wanted to work with you, right? So keep it in contact with them. Who do you think they're going to go to when they find a house, or when maybe they didn't have the lending that they could get, or their credit wasn't that great at the time? who do you think they're going to go to if you stay in contact with them when everything is lined up to where they can get that house and not fall out of escrow? They're going to go to you, right? And so this is just a fraction of the things that you can do. In fact, I'm going to leave you with one more. Accounting and bookkeeping. No realtor likes to do that. Another thing that a virtual assistant, that a real estate virtual assistant can do is help with your accounting and your bookkeeping, right? And like I've said many, many times, if you have a virtual assistant architect, one can usually do most of these things that you're talking about. Imagine if all you had to do was focus on working with your happy prospects who want to buy their next house. And you didn't have to do any bookkeeping, didn't have to do any accounting, didn't have to do any of that stuff. Well, bookkeeping is right now you have a way of doing your own bookkeeping, right? If you are doing your own bookkeeping, you have a current process. You can show them how you do that process, have them document it step by step, and then have them take over the entire bookkeeping system that you were doing, that you were doing yourself, that you were spending hours doing. You can have them work with your CPA to get for your CPA to get all the forms and things that they need to make sure that your business is running healthy, right? You can have them take all your expenses. So all of the driving, all of the mileage, all of the receipts and stuff like that, you can scan them in and say, hey, when you get receipts like this, go ahead and pop them into QuickBooks. So that all you have to do is scan some receipts in or take pictures of some receipts, they get it. And from then on, all you have to do is continue to make sales and continue to sell houses, right? And so the goal is that you do you. You focus on what you are extremely good at. You became a realtor not to do bookkeeping. You became a realtor not to have to schedule your calendar all the time. You became a realtor so that you can help people buy their dream home, right? Only you are licensed to do that. Your license is something that a bookkeeper, accountant, they can't sell a house, right? Unless they have a real estate license, unless they're a realtor, right? Why are you doing administration? Why are you doing accounting and bookkeeping? Why are you doing all of these different things that you don't, it's really not your key skill. It's not your X factor, right? The goal with a real estate virtual assistant is that you focus on your X factor. You focus on the thing that you are good at, and that is selling houses and giving people the ability to grow their families and live their dreams. So hopefully that's exciting to you, and you got some ideas on how you can use a real estate virtual assistant, and there's just so many different things that you can do with them where you're focused on being the business owner rather than all of the other craziness, all of the other stuff, right? So all that being said, this is Dean Soto, founder, freedomin5minutes.com. Go check out freedomin5minutes.com. A lot of cool stuff there. We have a master class. We have a business process scorecard where you can see how your business is doing when it comes to creating these, as far as how much opportunity cost that you have based off of what you're doing right now. And of course, go check out prosulum.com. Get yourself a real estate virtual assistant in the form of a virtual systems architect. They not only act as a virtual assistant, you show them how to, you pop on the video, you show them how you do anything in your business. They'll document it step by step into a standard operating procedure, and then they'll go and do it. They'll go and do it so you never have to do that thing ever again. So go check that out. Prosulum.com, Prosulum.com. And with that being said, this is Dean Soto, and I will catch you on the next Freedom in 5 Minutes podcast episode.
Thanks for listening to the Freedom in 5 Minutes podcast. Now, head over to www.freedomin5minutes.com and register for our free masterclass and discover how to start systemizing and automating your entire business 5 minutes at a time. We'll see you next time on the Freedom in 5 Minutes podcast.